everyone. So we're here to talk about the state of the city. I'm pleased to be up here. I wanted to thank the chamber. This was originally scheduled for just a few days after I took office, and obviously I wasn't prepared for that, so they slipped it. This was the first date we could match schedules up, so appreciate everybody bearing with me while I got my feet wet in the city here. And it's not lost on me. You've heard several people say it, but this would normally be Bill Brand up here. He's my best friend, and I'd rather he be standing here today than me. But I hope to carry on carrying on his legacy, and appreciate the council listening to Mayor Brand's last wish, one of his last wishes, and that was to put me up here. I know two of the council didn't vote for me, so I hope I'm living up to your expectations. We've met, and I'm very pleased with working with all the council members right now. So I'm going to first start with some headwinds and tailwinds. Some headwinds, obviously, the loss of Bill Brand is a big hit to us. Bill was a force of nature, and it's going to be hard to fill his, as somebody put on the Harbor Commission, his flip-flops. The state and city budget, we're going to have a tight budget here this year, I believe, and as you heard from our state senator, Ben Allen, we're expecting some reduction in what we're going to get from the state due to the budget situation. We've got ongoing legal matters with the AES property that we're handling every day. The state housing laws are an impediment to good zoning and good city planning. We've got aging infrastructure, especially our facilities, that require investment, and so we've got to come up with a plan on how to update that aging infrastructure without breaking the bank. And we're built out. Everybody knows we're a very high-density town. We don't have a lot of extra space in the town, and that limits our options for creative zoning, which we'll see in the upcoming general plan update. And then the last one, the metro right-of-way option impacts traffic and resident quality of life in North Redondo, and so we're fighting that option for the Green Line extension, or C Line as they call it now. But it's not all bad news. We got some good tailwinds. I'm enjoying good community and council consensus and direction on major direction and policy issues and the vision for the future. I appreciate the council's support on a lot of this. We are building momentum, which you'll see throughout the rest of this briefing. We've got a forward-leaning city staff. I want to recognize them sitting here, and if you don't mind giving them a round of applause for all the work they do for us. And I do appreciate our new council. The council gridlock is gone. If you paid attention to politics in the past, there was a lot of things impeded from going forward because the council couldn't get a consensus, and we were in gridlock. I don't see that anymore. We don't always vote all the same way, but there's no block voting trying to block the operations, the actions of the other, and so that's helping us move forward as well. Our city staffing is returning to normal from COVID levels, and that new staff is actually bringing a lot of new energy to City Hall. It's not the same city staff that we had 5 years ago, and I think if you ask them, between the movement of the council forward and the activities they're taking on, it's the busiest period for quite some time, and I appreciate all the hard work both by the council and the city staff. And then with that, cities' revenues are starting to return to normal from COVID, so that's a positive. And finally, we do have the potential to acquire that AES site, which is something we'll keep pushing for. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and look at 2023 up to when I came on board and look at some of the general achievements. So just listing a few on the tech side, we introduced Open Plus at the North Branch Library, and that allows residents of North Redondo to get into the library after normal hours, so extended access to the assets of that library. We've got online permitting coming online with the planning department, so hopefully we can get through the permitting process faster. We have a new city website. I think there were a few hiccups in the beginning, but at least I'm able to navigate it well. If I can navigate it, I think most of you should be able to. And I got to witness this personally. We have a new beyond line of sight drone system called Redondo. It's first in the U.S. deployed by a municipality, and I will tell you, after some ride-alongs and the events of this past weekend, the benefits of that system were very apparent to me. In our call center, the emergency call center, we employ software now called Emergency Medical Dispatch, which helps the operators on the phone give medical treatment advice to those who are calling in before the first responders arrive at the scene. And we're upgrading comm at all city sites, including parks and the harbor area, and I've already gotten positive comments to that, so that's rolling out very quickly. On the infrastructure maintenance and upgrades, if you've been out to the pier, we have new railings, new lights, and newly painted sails at the pier. Those iconic, when you see the sunset and you see those sails up over the pier, those have all been repainted. They're nice, bright colors, so very happy to see that. We recently replaced roofs at Alta Vista and Wilderness Park. We're getting ready to re-landscape City Hall. If you've seen the fence up around the dirt in the courtyard. We have major upgrades to Franklin Park. New playground equipment at Dominguez Park. We returfed the Aviation Park sports field. We're extending the North Redondo bike path. We got new Harbor Patrol docks and a new pump out station for the boaters. And in all, last year we completed 24 capital projects and 11 were in the design phase, which is, I think, a record number. So appreciate all the effort there. From a public safety perspective, Redondo Police Department, by the numbers, we're fully staffed right now with 99 sworn officers, and our retention rate has gone from 43% in years past to more recently 90%. So we're very proud of that number. Our call center had 63,000 calls last year. And that new EMD service, the instructions that go with the operators, has been used on 221 calls, and 25 of those were life and death situations. You can see the number of collision responses here that the police force responded to, greater than 1,462. Arrests, 2,886, over 3,000 citations, and 54 firearms recovered. And out of that, the police officers have gotten, 20 of them have gotten awards and accolades last year, and we've got 6 coming up in the, I think it's Medal of Valor presentations that will be coming up later this month. So I did have the pleasure of riding along with our police department, and I have a new respect. It's not like a cops show. It's a little bit different when you ride along. And what really impressed me that I never thought about, one of the calls was a lost 8-year-old girl from out of town, and the whole police department responded, and that was very impressive. I also got to see both our police and fire at the recent, I got to sit in the ops center and speak with some of our first responders during the Beach Life Festival, and obviously we had that evacuation. I was one of the evacuees. I went up to the ops center, and it was awe-inspiring to see the coordination going on between the Beach Life security team and our first responders, and employing that drone system to help move things along. So very impressed. I would like you to give a round of applause to all our first responders. So thank you for what you do. Stand up. Stand up, guys. Thank you. Similarly, the fire department hired 9 firefighter paramedics. We had 15 fire cadets and 3 fire interns, so producing that next generation of firefighters. And 20 people in the community got graduated with their emergency response team credentials. We've got 1 new fire engine I think we have already, and 1 is on order. Also started employing the Heart Warrior Auto Pulse, which helps people who are in cardiac arrest while they're being transported and treated. And we replaced old survival gear with state-of-the-art survival gear. Emergency incidents, they responded to 7,616, which is a substantial increase from our, it's substantially more than our cities like Manhattan Beach and Hermosa Beach. So they're responding a lot. 75% of those were emergency medical calls. Only 2% were structure fires. And already, despite the short term we've been using the Heart Warrior auto pulse system, it's already saved 3 lives. So thanks to our firefighters. I don't know if any of them are here today, but I'd like you to give a round of applause for the firefighters. I know the chief wanted to be here, but he's under the weather today. So. And now getting to our unhoused program, we do have, I'm very proud of our program that takes the homeless off the streets. We have we're one of the few cities of our size that has a program that goes all the way from contacting the people on the street to getting them into permanent housing. This year, as you heard Holly Mitchell say, we're adding more pallet shelters to our pallet shelter program that has been very successful. We're also adding an upfront capability that's called the Alternative Crisis Response Team, which will help those experiencing mental illness. And I want to recognize Councilmember Kalijerovic for her role in helping us do that, so thank you. Homelessness, we've seen a 60% decrease from 2020 to today, and 16.5% reduction in just the last year alone. This is the lowest number in over a decade. So our program is working. In fact, you'll see here, jump into my middle bullet, we are approaching what they're called functional zero, where people exiting homelessness faster than they're entering it in our city. So we've achieved where the, that is a very good number. So. We've already achieved that the street outflow is greater than the street inflow, and we're working on closing on the median duration of homelessness being less than 90 days. So, but beyond that statistic, which is pretty phenomenal, our homeless court has a 75% attendance rate, and our last homeless court had a 100% attendance rate. And I know that shocks the surrounding communities that have a homeless court to get that kind of participation from the homeless. And what that does, that homeless court helps them shed some of the citations and things like that that may prevent them from getting into housing and getting jobs. So if they have parking tickets because they were parked too long, or if they got tickets for camping out in a place they shouldn't, if they abide by terms set by the homeless court, they relieve them of those citations and clean their records so that they can move on with their lives. In recent years, we've had 0% recidivism of people going back on the street, and that's phenomenal. And it's not just recognized by our people. Lila Omura, who's our housing coordinator, she was the 2024 Woman of the Year, selected by State Assembly Member Almer Tsuchi. Yeah. And we're a Putnam Award winner for excellence in housing programs and innovation. So very proud of this program. Thanks to Mike Webb and his team for putting that together. So looking at some what's coming up for project and issue highlights. Housing and zoning, obviously we've got our new general plan coming up. We're trying to align that with our certified housing element. Not trying, we are aligning that with our housing element. We have previously approved the Artesia Aviation Corridors area plan so that we can get increased investment along Artesia. It has substantial increases to the floor area ratio, so you can build more building per lot size. And but that has to wait until we approve the general plan, so we're not quite there yet. But we've already started decreasing the parking requirements, which incentivizes investment in those. So hopefully, this will result in investment to clean up the corridor and buoy it up from a revenue perspective. And so far, our certified housing element has withstood 2 legal challenges to date. And so I think we've got a very solid plan, and we were one of the first communities to get our housing element certified, which is protecting us from a thing called builder's remedy where if it wasn't certified, builders can just come in and say, I want to put up 30 stories here, which none of us want anywhere in the city. Just to hit on that a little, I don't think a lot of people realize Redondo has the most diverse housing in the South Bay and in all of Southern California. The graph on the left, you can see we're the only community in the beach cities that has more multifamily dwellings than single-family dwellings. And you can see the numbers there. But that's not just on the beach cities. If you look at the Southern California region, those numbers are in the graph to the right. We beat the average in the cities in that region by a substantial amount for more multifamily than single family. So we've already accommodated a lot of the housing needs of the area. 67% of our developable land is housing already, and only 20% is commercial. And so that is an impact to us from a revenue perspective. As we are forced to increase housing, we're decreasing the amount of commercial in the city because developers would rather they get more money out of building housing than they do out of commercial. And so that reduces our revenues. You get more revenue from successful businesses than you do from housing that goes into the city. So that does long-term impact our city budgets. And so, we need to continue to fight the mandates from Sacramento. We are already diverse housing, and we should get recognized for that instead of penalized for it. Just as an example, our RHNA number is over 22, our regional housing needs allowance is over 2,500 homes, where we're already at over 11,000 people per square mile, where a city like El Segundo, and I'm not dissing El Segundo, just using it for comparison, they got 525, and they're a quarter of our residential density. So the process is not fair, and we continue to push on our state legislatures to help us out there. In fact, Senator Ben Allen offered to sponsor legislation for cities like Redondo to avoid some of the housing mandates. And I wrote my first draft, and the legislative attorney didn't like it, so he kicked it back, and I'm rewriting it now. So hopefully we'll see something in the near future. The Green Line, I don't know how much you all have followed this, but there's 2 routes that they're looking at. They've settled on 2 now. They call one the hybrid right-of-way option. That's the green and blue line on this chart. And the other is to go down Hawthorne, which is the orange route. Obviously, for our residents, we would like it to go down Hawthorne because that goes, within feet of our a lot of our North Redondo homes' backyards. And they're going there's a freight train there today, but that goes once or twice a day. This would be 200 to 300 trips per day that they have to hear right out their backyard, and at times 30 feet above grade, above their yards. So we are lobbying to get that moved to Hawthorne. It's a lot more expensive. There is pushback on that. But the thing that really stuck out to me when you go way deep in their environmental impact report and you look at the appendices, there's a number in there that just blew my mind. If they did the Hawthorne route, it would result in annual ridership increase of 1.25 million rides. And that's a substantial amount. But then even more shattering, the Redondo platform would generate 47% more boardings if it went along Hawthorne Boulevard. And if the goal of this is to get people into mass transit and off the street, this seems like a no-brainer solution to me. But we still have to lobby for this, and that's coming up on the 23rd if you want to take the bus. I think the city will have a link on the website to support us. We only get a minute to speak, so the more minutes we get to help our North Redondo neighbors lobby to get this out of their backyards. So public art, getting on some good stuff. We've been investing in public art. Here's some examples on the lower left. Yeah, lower left. You can see some street art that's in the Riviera Village. If you've been there, it brightens up the street and it breaks up the monotony of the asphalt. Our new skate park has some murals that went up, and those are awe-inspiring. We've just approved the wave sculpture to go in at the north end of the harbor area where you come off the Hermosa bike path and into Redondo. And we just recently approved murals for the Public Works building along Catalina. So bringing art into our town more and more. We've got some good development in the works. Grub House on Artesia, we're processing the applications right now. That's gone through planning. We kicked it back to them with some updates they need to do, so we're awaiting that. This is a very unique development. It's kind of like a new market hall concept. There would be 12 different kitchens in that open air environment, so you can go to these different vendors and get different types of food, all in one setting along Artesia Boulevard. And just yesterday, Councilmember Kalijerovic and I were at the, what do they call it, the topping off of the Friendship Foundation building. This is what it will look like when it's finished. It's just steel girders right now, but very impressive, and that's going to transform the lives of those with disabilities. Working with kids in their late teens and their early adulthood, to be able, with the mental challenges, I'm not sure the politically correct term for that, but people who of differing abilities to put value in their lives, to be able to meet people like themselves, to gain friendships, and actually get some purpose in their life and contribute to the community. So we're very, very lucky to have this in our community, and I'm proud that it's going up at one of our former school sites. So look forward to that opening up. I think they're scheduled to open up next year. South Bay Social District, if you followed the news, that's been stalled for a while, but they just recently came forward with an application to the city. They've opted to go forward with part of what they called Phase 2, which has an additional 350 housing units on the kind of southwest side of the facility. So that would bring it to 650 total residential units. They're opening up the mall part to be more open air. The third story will be medical services, and the front fronting Artesia will be a WeWorks type of environment. So looking forward to this finally moving forward. If you've been to that mall recently, it's kind of sad to see all those shops boarded up. I mean, they did it in a pretty way, but it's obvious that is not producing the revenue that it used to be a real hot spot for us for revenue, and that has declined. So I'm looking forward to that moving forward, and hopefully they can break ground soon. We opened last year on June 15th, we opened the first community garden in Redondo. So I think some of my South Bay Parkland Conservancy folks are in the audience. Where are you at? There they are standing in the back. A round of applause for opening that up. Appreciate it. And these pictures show it going from an unused strip of grass in Alta Vista Park to the ribbon cutting that Bill Brand cut the ribbon on June 15th. And this is what it looks like as of just a few weeks ago. And this was a true model of partnership between the city and the residents and volunteers of the city. The fence was put up by the city, but we had volunteers working side by side with some of Mike Klein's staff building that fence, and then the rest of it was funded and built by donations from the community and by volunteers in the community. So that's a bright spot. We hope to be able to open another one in North Redondo sometime soon. So as soon as our North Redondo Council can pick a place to put it, I'm sure South Bay Parkland Conservancy would be willing to move forward on it. Harbor, in late 2022, the council approved the harbor amenities plan, and we gained a lot of momentum last year. So I'm going to walk you through some of what's been going on. First off, mid last year, we came up with the education center architecture concept. That's at the Joe's Crab Shack site. I'm pleased to say we're in active discussions with anchor tenants at this point, hoping to be able to reveal who the main tenant would be perhaps by the end of this summer. They're doing some due diligence, and it would be exciting if we could get this anchor tenant. We're getting near final design for the new Seaside Lagoon so that it's not using harbor water anymore, and so that it's more usable by the community when we're not using it for swimming. And that also includes a refresh of the whole promenade. And we've got $10 million secured from the state, from Al Muratsuchi, so appreciate the state funding there. California Surf Club is under construction right now. If you've been down there, you see the fence up. You see, if you were at Beach Life, you saw the Wyland was painting part of the parapet along the old Ruby's restaurant. So I'm looking forward to that opening up. Between that and the redo of Seaside Lagoon, that's kind of the kernel for revitalization of the whole harbor area. Boat ramp, we've had the source selection. We haven't gone to council yet, so getting ready to go to council with the contractor who will design our first boat ramp in the harbor, and it is required by the Coastal Commission. And we have a commitment from Department of Boating and Waters to fund that construction. Riviera Mexican Cantina is due to open soon. I think it's this weekend. I don't know the exact date, but going in at the old Samba site. We approved pavers for the International Boardwalk, so that should be going into work soon. Just secured $1.4 million in federal funding for new boat slips in Basin 3. And the skate park was open. We had the ribbon cutting last summer, and we added the art murals that I showed you earlier. So for 1 year, I've not seen the city move forward on so many projects in one concentrated area so quickly. This is a lot of momentum, and I'm very pleased to see that momentum going forward. Just some pictures. This is what the California Surf Club should look like when it's finished. There's I put an inset of Wyland painting the upper parapet on rubies. This is the skate park that we cut the ribbon on last summer. This is this isn't the final design, but this is one of the preliminary drawings of Seaside Lagoon. Some of the features I wanted to highlight here, if you look, you can see a red dotted line around the water feature. That would be a removable fence that when we shut it down for the evening or for the winter, when we shut the water feature down, we can put that removable fence up, and the rest of it will be an open park accessible to the public. And some of the amenities in there are a picnic and barbecue area and fire pits. So you can come down to the harbor, and they call it the Great Lawn concept, come out on that great lawn and eat a picnic meal and look over the harbor and use that area. Also within the water feature, you'll see that there's a swim buoy lane. You know, a lot of people wanted a lap pool. The concept we were coming up with, that was very expensive. But actually one of our commissioners, I think he's here, Roger Carlson, came up with the idea of making it like an open water swim and putting 2 pylons in there and letting swimmers swim around those rather than have a lap pool. And Roger, if you're here, just stand up. He deserves credit for that innovation. So thank you, Roger. And then the boat ramp, I talked about that. That will be going into the Sambas area. This is just a notion of what it would look like. Obviously, the design contractor would be designing that. But this is the first time in the history of our harbor that we've had consensus on all the major players of where that boat ramp should be. We know it's a constraint that was laid on us by the Coastal Commission, so it's important that we move forward on this to continue with the revitalization of the harbor. And if you've been out to the harbor, you've seen dredging in work. You saw the big crane. We've had a lot of silting in the harbor that's a hazard to navigation, so they're cleaning that up. And when they get done later this summer, the Corps of Engineers will be coming out and repairing our break wall. It's seen some damage from the major storms, and we don't want a repeat of the last time the break wall gave way. And my last topic, obviously, the big one that was near and dear to Bill's heart was the AES power plant. This was a postcard we put together when former council refused to oppose a new power plant at the site, so this was a little bit facetious. But this is an indicator. This is what I saw when I first came to Redondo. And it's not what I'd call a Chamber of Commerce image that you want to show out there on your website. On December 31st, you can see Bill and our city attorney, Mike Webb, flipping the ceremonial switch that symbolized shutting down that power plant forever. It can't come back online anymore. So that was a long-fought battle, and Bill and Mike Webb both deserve credit for getting that shut down. So where we're at with that AES site, that's probably that's the question I get asked the most. So we had AES sold the plant to a developer in 2020. In 2022, he literally dropped the plant for 2,700 condos, plus other uses on the city, and went to the press at the same time. The planning department rejected that as the application is incomplete. And very close to that time, AES filed foreclosure on that developer because he hadn't paid his bills to AES. So jump into 2023, that developer, so AES waited the 90 days for foreclosure and then was going to put it to auction. And we were ready to go in there and make a bid. The day before that auction, the developer filed bankruptcy, which stops the auction proceedings. In parallel with that, he had appealed the rejection of his application to City Council. City Council denied that appeal. He then filed a lawsuit based on the state law called Builder's Remedy. So far, judges found in our favor, but he's appealed that finding. And then at the end of 2023, we had the plan officially closing down, as we saw in the picture before. Jumping forward to today, the bankruptcy proceedings are in their final extension. But in parallel, AES is safing that plant. So they've disconnected from the big 220 kilovolt lines. The natural gas lines that fed it have been capped. Hazardous liquids are being removed now, and then the systems are being purged. So the AES plant will be in a safe condition to walk away from. And they're expecting, I think it was 6 months, I think we're 2 months into that, so probably about another 4 months of that safing. And if you've watched City Council, I think two sessions ago, we approved negotiations with AES for the potential outcome of bankruptcy and putting a competing bid in to come out of bankruptcy where the city would own the entire property. So, yeah. That's not a sure thing. Bankruptcy can go either way, but we're preparing for that one eventuality. To look at the future of what that plant will be, you have to look at the past. And if you look at the image on the left, you will see that the first industry that actually came to this area in what would become Redondo Beach was a salt plant at the old salt pond. And in fact, the two roads in our area were called the Old Salt Road and the New Salt Road. So that salt lake that was there before the power plant is really what started development in our city, and the city grew around that. So up in the middle there, you can see the original 1907 Edison power plant reflected off the salt pond, and then in the bottom, you can see the salt lake looking south towards Palos Verdes. On the right, you can see, Southern California Edison filled in the salt lake in the late 40s and eventually built the plant as you see today. Those tanks aren't there anymore, but that yellow outline is where that salt lake was before it was filled in for the current power plant. So when you look to what's happening today, once AES turned off their dewatering pumps, that salt lake started coming back. So the upper left, you can see that's the old tank 4 area. You can see water, but you can also see that the plant life that thrives in a marshy environment has already returned without anybody seeding it or anything like that. So birds, whatever is going on, the plant life is coming back. In the upper right, you can see the tanks. The very bottom one's tank 3, 2, and 1, and they are filled with water. And that has attracted birds, a lot of the migratory and local birds, as you can see in the bottom picture. 2 Canadian geese. On the left, they're coming in to a landing over ruddy ducks and bufflehead ducks. And on the right is 2 different types of egrets that are thriving in that returning wetlands. So far, from recent looks, I think there's about 11 acres. It was originally 6 acres of wetlands. We think that's expanded to 11. It could be more because a lot of it's under hardscape. And the Audubon Society has documented nearly 100 species of birds using that wetland. So whatever happens with that property going forward, there's going to have to be a wetland restoration, and it's going to be a sizable piece of it. My vision and Bill's vision was a giant park there, and I look forward to the day when we cut the ribbon on Bill Brand Park. So in summary, 2023 was a year of building momentum. We have lots of forward movement going on across the city. My main focus for my little term left, trying to fill Bill's giant flip-flops, we want to fight for the sea line to go along the Hawthorne option, get the South Bay Social District moving, move forward on the general plan update and make sure we're in compliance with our housing element, continue the momentum in the harbor, and prepare for whatever happens with AES. So that concludes that portion of my speech. I do have the honor now of naming the 2024 Lifetime Achievement Award. Sally is Bill Brand's sister. I have obviously selected Bill Brand for Lifetime Achievement. I'd rather do this with him alive than posthumously, but he has certainly earned it. And I'm not going to talk through. I have a list of some of his accomplishments right on the right-hand side of this screen. I'm not going to read through all of them, but this man has a lot of impact. I don't know if any other individual has more impact on Redondo Beach in the last 20-plus years. So Sally, let me present you on behalf of the city and the chamber with Lifetime Achievement Award for your brother. And please accept these flowers from us as well. You can say a few.